Scared of failing publicly, went out to Greece.
Wow.
For a Mamma Mia
I
summer as one of the youngest female three-stripe officers in the Merchant Navy, and I grew my Pinterest account to 1 million monthly viewers.
Wow. I feel like Pinterest is a forgotten social media.
This is your sign to talk about your offers
Straight
more.
to camera. I use ChatGPT.
I was like, is there going to be an AI bubble burst from a female founder to a female employee of your own business?
Coffee with a Female Founder is where we have honest conversations about everyday business with the women behind it. I'm Amy, your host and founder of Course Studio, a marketing and business consultancy, and The Female Founder, a community-driven learning platform. Each episode we'll chat over a coffee with a different female founder, diving into their challenges, wins, lessons learned, and the advice they wish they had when starting out. The coffee is delivered to us courtesy of vexcoffee.com, which is the UK's freshest coffee discovery club. Every month, they expertly handpick 2 small independent coffee roasters for you to explore. They've been kind enough to give our listeners 25% off your first box using the code FEMALEFOUNDER or using the link in the show notes. Welcome. Thank you so much for being on here.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, I want to start at the very, very, very beginning of your journey.
Right.
Talk to me about that.
So the very, very beginning of my journey was around 2020, which was quite an eventful year for everyone, as we remember.
Yeah.
And I was doing a English and drama degree and was really enjoying it. I was originally only supposed to be doing English, and then when I got my results through, I emailed the university on the day and said, can I do English and drama? And they said yes.
Nice.
So it turned out really well because from the drama side, you got a lot of transferable skills.
Mm-hmm.
So I was really liking that side of the degree, and I was going to be going into a travel industry, so air hostessing, so I could have almost a survival job while I was going to be doing drama work, background artistry work, a bit of modelling. So my life was so different about 5 years ago. And then in March 2020, everything shut down overnight. The arts industry disappeared. And my university gave me a third off my master's if I studied a master's degree.
Nice.
So I decided to stay with my friends, stay with my partner at the time, and study a master's in digital marketing because I was already marketing myself as an artist. So roll around to, I believe it was around September 2020, I started that degree, and a lot of people said you need a portfolio and make your own portfolio, make your own experience. One of the best pieces of advice I've had. So I started Business Girls. If anyone's listening to this podcast and you remember Business Girls, 2020 to 2022, she was my baby, then that's so cool if you remember that. I started that in December of 2020 and graduated the master's, was working with 3 or 4 big retainer clients, was planning to take it full-time after I graduated. So build it all the way up to 2022. I was looking into moving with my partner. I was having my own podcast. I was on a podcast with another lady. I can't remember exactly which episode it was, but I remember it so clearly, being in this room, being like, I know that sometimes life doesn't work out quite the way you planned, but I was sat there thinking, my life's pretty worked out how I wanted it to. I've got the partner, we're going to move in together, I've got the business, I'm going to go travelling. About 6 weeks later, my 4-year relationship ended out of the blue.
Wow, okay.
And I needed to get away, so I went on a cruise on my own in April of 2022 and loved it. And around that time, I'd also lost one of my big clients. And now I look back, I do think I took this career change because of things that happened in my personal life. But I also think in hindsight, I was scared of failing publicly.
Okay.
So I jumped out.
Yeah.
So I basically closed the business and in 10 weeks, applied to work on a cruise ship and went out to Greece.
Wow.
For a Mamma Mia pipe summer for one summer, and I was like, this is it. I'm going to sell tours and go to Athens and do all of the white domes in Santorini and go to Croatia, and it was the most amazing summer. I was selling shore excursions, which are the trips that you go on if you go on a cruise and you go on land. And then there was this other little tiny part of my role that wasn't really its own role on ships, but it was selling cruises for people that wanted to come back. And I was still trying to keep business goals going on behind the scenes, but when you work on a cruise ship, it's very intense. So that happened for about a year. So fast forward to 2023. So about a year later, September time, and I wanted to leave that career. I wasn't used to the fast pace of trying to get all the guests on the right buses and get them to the right tours, but I really liked selling the cruises. And my friend who had left and gone to another company said, why don't you try going for Future Cruise, which was head of department, you would run your own sales, the loyalty program. I was like, there's no way I can get that. So I applied and I had my interview in the Caribbean, and my current manager said to me, because I told him, because I'd resigned, he said, you'd be really good at that. And I thought, well, if my current manager is telling me I'd be really good at something, I should probably go for it. So I had the interview. I flew home. I was like, yes, I'm going to get it. I didn't get it. And I was sat home at just about to turn 25 thinking, I've not got a job. And I've got about $3,000 in savings. What am I going to do? So I did what any sane person does in that situation, and I booked a segment of a world cruise.
Nice.
Flew out to Brisbane as a guest, and 2 days before that, Fred Olsen, who were the company I ended up working for, called me back and said, can we re-interview you for Future Cruise?
Okay.
So I had that interview, flew out to Australia, almost missed the connection in Dubai, managed to get on the ship in Australia. And I was this 25-year-old on a cruise ship as a guest on a world cruise. And all the guests couldn't understand why I was there.
No way.
Because they were like, you've come on your own?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, because you don't want to wait around to do things in your life when you can just do it yourself. So by the time we'd done Australia, up the Gold Coast, Indonesia, Philippines, incredible. By the time I got to Hong Kong, I'd had an offer from my old company in a different department doing the marketing on board. And I'd had a Future Cruise come through. And I picked to go to Fred Olsen. So I flew home, went straight to Ipswich for training, saw my parents for 4 days, and went to Southampton and joined another ship. As one of the youngest female 3-stripe officers in the Merchant Navy. So Merchant Navy is cruise ships and Navy as well. And we were like the highest ranking women on board for a decent period of time.
Amazing.
And my colleague was a little bit older than me. I was one of the youngest Future Crews in the team. And it was a big jump in terms of responsibility. I didn't have a manager. My manager was fourth in command of the entire ship. So we had to manage our own department, all of the sales, all of the loyalty scheme. I think the first week I joined, we did 400 grand in a week, which I was used to doing 400 grand in 2 months on my previous company because the cruise demographic and product was so different. Fast forward to, so that was March 24, and then fast forward to March 25, I'd been offered to do a leg of the world cruise to work it, which if anyone's worked on ships, that's what you want. Want to do a world cruise. It's like the final boss of cruising. And I thought I'll do it, but I'm getting itchy feet. I want to move home. I miss working for myself. I want to go home. And I got on the world cruise in South Africa. It was the last leg, which if anyone's worked on ships, it's difficult because they've been on for a lot of time, the guests. They miss the home comforts. They kind of want to go home. They've done the ports they wanted to do. And we had to launch the 2027 World Cruise itinerary on that cruise. So not only were we working really hard, it was also a really tough cruise to work on from a crew perspective. And as much as I loved it, I got to the Canary Islands and I called my friend who'd worked on ships and had left. And I was like, I want to jump ship. I want to move back to land. Within 30 minutes, and this is where I think fate comes into play, I was in a restaurant in Madeira, which is an amazing restaurant, and I was with 2 friends that I'd met through a connection of someone that I had a connection with on ships. It was their friend. And he was saying how he really wanted to rent out his house because he'd just started working on cruise ships and he was paying his mortgage pretty much from his ship salary. And I said, well, I want to go home.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of looked at each other and he turned his phone around and showed me this house.
Yeah.
My dream place. I've wanted my own place since like 9.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, this is it. And my colleague went, you're going to be spending a lot of rent if you're only going to be living in it 3 months a year. And I was like, I'm going to be living in it a lot more than that. And so I decided to hand in my notice. And it was really tough because you make such good friends on cruise ships. And moved home in June with no clients, no portfolio.
Yeah.
Basically started from scratch. And I'm sat here now 5 months later at the end of November with pretty much a full client roster, being able to do podcasts, running my own events, living in my dream house, and have been able to travel the world for the past 3 years.
Yeah.
So that is everything in a smaller nutshell as I can possibly make it. But my journey is very unconventional.
Yeah, really unconventional.
Yeah.
So there's so much to unpack.
Right.
I'm going to start at the very beginning. So Business Girls, where did that come from? Why did you start that? Tell me about that.
So it originally started off as a quotes page because I'd seen Boss Babe and I was like, that's pretty easy to build up a quotes page.
Yeah.
Let me do that.
On Instagram?
On Instagram. Yeah. And a month or 2 after I started posting, I was seeing people like Girls in Marketing, Pretty Little Marketer, Grad Girl Marketing, Girl Power Marketing, all of the OG pages.
Yeah.
And I was like, I could probably create a portfolio to be able to help me get a grad job. And then it almost turned into more of a community membership. Nice. And I did try and go down the membership route. The membership for me in that period of time, I think, was more financially motivated. I loved the community aspect of it, but I did feel pressured into having a paid membership at the time.
Right.
I would have loved to have been free, but with the economy and everything going on, sometimes in business you do have to make decisions financially.
Yeah.
But it didn't feel quite right at the time, so I did end up going more down the typical social media management routes and doing a little bit of mentoring.
Okay.
I did steer away from a lot of the mentoring industry at the time because in around 2022 it was getting very saturated. A lot of people were doing different mentoring containers, and again, it just didn't feel aligned for me at the time. I did also mention when I lost that big client, I was getting other little clients in place, but it's almost like the universe was going, something's going to happen here and you're going to pivot and you're going to have literally no idea what's about to happen, but I think it was preempting me.
Okay.
But I basically started it as a quotes page and then it turned into a really lovely community. But when I was on ships, it was just a big thing about working on cruise ships as well is you have very limited Wi-Fi.
Yeah, of course.
So when you do get shore leave, which I was very lucky to have because not everyone gets the privilege of unrestricted shore leave on ships, because I was working in tours, I had to be off the ship.
Right, okay.
Other people, and depends on what company you work on, you don't necessarily get unrestricted shore leave. When you're in port, you want to see the port.
Yeah,
you don't want to be in a cafe getting Wi-Fi to try and be posting. I really wanted to live in the moment at that point in my life. So everything did end up winding down, but it was great to have for 2 years and I loved it. And this is why I've eventually come back to doing marketing again.
Well, you've obviously got a lot of skills from that. You've learned how to build a community, which I think is the hardest thing to do in marketing, is to build a community. But you've obviously taken a lot from that and now putting it into your business now. So talk to me a little bit about what your business is. What do you do now?
So when I came home, I had a rough idea of what I wanted my business to be like. And it's interesting because in the rise of AI, it's the complete opposite. It's basically focused around writing, which is one of the easiest things you can implement with ChatGPT.
Yeah.
But I mentioned to you before we started the podcast about slow marketing. So I predominantly work in email marketing, LinkedIn, Pinterest marketing. Yeah. It's a really interesting one because a lot of people are struggling with zero-click syndrome, which is where people are Googling something, seeing the ChatGPT summary, not clicking through to the website. With Pinterest, you can click on a pin you're straight through to the website, so you're getting conversions. So I work within that as well. And then strategic copywriting, so anything like blogs, campaigns. I've just worked on a charity campaign for Giving Tuesday, which is today in America. Love that. Which is so we've had Black Friday and then Giving Tuesday. So I have been stretched both ways the last couple of weeks. But basically my agency revolves around writing, and eventually I want it to revolve around writing and education, making founders believe that their story is easy to tell through writing, and helping them write their story in an authentic way, and not feeling any shame or fear around writing their story, particularly on LinkedIn and places like that where you have to be quite vulnerable sometimes, and people find it difficult. They get writer's block and all of these things. It depends what upbringing you've had as well, what writing literacy you've been able to access in your education. I really want to go down that route as well, to the point of going into corporate, going to schools, being able to share those kind of resources.
That's amazing. So I really love this terminology, slow marketing.
Okay.
Because I feel like, well, TikTok, you're literally getting like 10-second videos and you're scrolling through, and it's all this really, really fast-paced content. It's all about the hooks, how to get people in the first 3 seconds, and it's just so intense and so fast. And I feel like that's the way that the trends are kind of going now. But this slow marketing thing, I really like this. So explain what that is a little bit more.
So just want to preface this by saying I have a TikTok account.
Yes.
But it's so that I can post for my clients.
Yeah.
So if you search up, you won't find a Celestia writing TikTok. You will find one that's That Girl Adventures, which is to do with my travel adventures.
Yeah.
So I have a travel blog called That Girl Adventures. I desperately need to update, but I haven't done much travel since I've come home because I've worked on the business. But I don't have TikTok account primarily for that reason. I struggle enough with doom scrolling on Instagram Reels.
Yeah.
And I've got Opal. I might need to get that brick that you brick your phone with to stop you from doing so much screen time, because Instagram Reels is my Achilles heel. And I feel like if I got TikTok as well, that would be the same case. With slow marketing, the average life cycle, and it may have changed, but the average life cycle of anything like a thread, a tweet, a TikTok, anywhere from 8 hours to 3 days. The average life cycle of a Pinterest pin, it takes 3 months to get ranked in the system, because it's almost like a search engine, Pinterest. Anywhere from 3 months and then up to 3 years. So when I had my first Pinterest account, which was actually not too much to do with business girls, it was more to do with a previous blog I'd had before that. So 2 years later, all these pins just started popping off, and I grew my Pinterest account to 1 million monthly viewers.
Wow.
Every month.
That's incredible.
It was crazy. 800,000 individual impressions, not
like duplicates.
Not views. It was, not duplicates. And it was crazy because I'd not touched that blog in 6-9 months, and these pins had suddenly just gone off. So I love Pinterest so much, and especially in Q4, I'm waiting for the next month, like December, January. So by the time this podcast comes out, I won't be surprised if one of my travel pins for That Girl Adventures has gone and popped off, because I think one pin got like 50,000 views. Like, it was getting hundreds of link clicks a day. I was getting people to my email. And that's the thing. People don't want to have to be bogged down into creating content for 2 hours. Again, struggling with writing. I struggle with design quite a lot. So I rely on templates, stuff like that, to shorten my content process for Instagram. You'll say I haven't actually posted on Instagram in a while. I'll post like the occasional reel. But because I've got slow marketing that works for me in the background, my emails, my Pinterest driving me conversion, I don't have to spend that much time on Instagram. And when I do, I want to.
It's intentional.
I want to create content, because I'm not reliant on, if I create a reel and it gets sucked into the algorithm in 5 hours, I've got my emails, I've got a website being built, I've got Pinterest, I've got LinkedIn, and it's all about, yes, TikTok and Instagram is important in this day and age, especially for marketers. But let's not forget the power of emails. if you do them correctly. I've seen a lot of Black Friday emails that were interesting. Let's keep it ethical. But blogs, LinkedIn, especially Pinterest, is such a long-term win.
That's amazing. So we met on Margaret's, who was a guest on this podcast a couple of weeks ago. We met on her marketing roundtable, and you mentioned Pinterest there. Yeah. And I remember you saying, oh yeah, just start Pinterest. You can just connect it to your Instagram page and it does it all automatically. The moment I got off that call, I did just that.
Did you?
Yes, absolutely. Because I was like, that is literally the easiest way to cross-pollinate. And you don't have to put too much effort into it if you just want to be on there just to see kind of how it works for your business. And then obviously if it's kicking off, which hopefully it will be in 3 months, then I can put a little bit more effort into it. So I feel like Pinterest is a forgotten social media. Like I'm in marketing and I don't use it until you told me to. And I did. But what would you suggest, other than that, for founders, how to get onto Pinterest? What's the best way to do that?
I think I have a lot of people say, I'm in this niche, I'm in that niche. I had someone tell me, I'm a photographer. Someone else tell me, I live in a van and I do travel content. I'm like, if you live in a van, you do travel content. That's one of the best niches you can do on Pinterest. Like if you just get a lovely picture of like your van and you put an overlay over it, you put a quote on it. Quotes do incredible on Pinterest.
Okay.
And you can link it to a blog post. You can link it to your Instagram. You could link it to your sales page. You can link it to your lead gen. That's what a lot of I do at the moment because I'm going through a new website build.
Okay.
So a lot of my pins will link to my lead gen. One thing I would say is that if you're like me and you're going through a bit of a website rebrand or you're going to be changing your website name or you're changing your Instagram handle, the domains that you've attached to your pins are there for the long term.
Right.
So make sure the domain doesn't change.
Yeah. And if you do close a website page, redirect the URL to a new page.
Yeah. So you can do redirect. So if someone eventually clicks on that pin, they will get redirected.
Yeah.
So that's where I would potentially start with the quotes. Okay. This time is perfect. Okay, maybe when this podcast comes out, it will be a bit past Q4. But then it means you've got 9 months
to plan for Q4.
Plan for the December, New Year's, everything like that. But you will see, if you look on Pinterest Trends, it's completely free. It's where you can compare keywords. So you want a keyword with high search but low density. So you want a keyword that's highly searched but lowly competitive.
Okay.
And you can search which words those are. So if you're like me and you're in travel, I could search for, or in business, I could search Pinterest marketing, or I could search kind of Pinterest female founders. Yeah. Or niche it down. Yeah. If you're in travel and you're looking at Croatia and you're a solo traveller, you could maybe do Croatia solo travel, Croatia solo adventures, Croatia summer, and you can niche it down in that way. You want something that's low density but highly searched. Yeah. If you do that, then you're able to pin that back into your strategy. And what you'll see on Pinterest Trends is that there's a massive spike on July the 1st. Okay. Because everyone goes, oh, it's halfway through the year. Yeah. Let me get back on those goals. Let me go on Pinterest and pin all those quotes again. Works like a charm.
That's
Halloween,
so cool.
Q4, Christmas, New Year's, everyone's pinning things to their vision board. And the great thing about Pinterest is you have a warm audience. Yeah. People are on Pinterest because they want to buy. Yeah. When I wanted a new chair for my office, I didn't go on Google or ChatGPT. I went, maybe because I'm older, I see so many people now that say, let's ask ChatGPT. And I'm like, maybe I'm just a little bit more antiquated. But I'll go on Pinterest and I'll have a look. And I'll get my chair off there.
Yeah. I have so many boards because I think I'm a very aesthetic, tactile person. So I like to see everything in like a nice way, in a nice form. And that's what Pinterest is for me. So in terms of the keywords that you were talking about, the hashtags or they're kind of part of the copy on
part
Pinterest?
Of the copy.
Okay.
So you don't really get hashtags on Pinterest.
Okay.
You can tag keywords. Yeah. So there's a space for you to tag different words in. And it is a little bit limited in what you can tag. You have to kind of play around with what you can search in that bar. Okay. So if you put like I think I've got one that's like, if I want inspirational quotes, I have to type in quotes for it to come up, not inspirational. So it's a bit like you have to test which words come up with that. But yeah, there's an actual space to put keywords in, and then you want to put the keyword in the headline, keyword in the alt text as well.
Yeah.
Like, yes, it's amazing for people who are using Pinterest who might have visual impairments, but it's also great for SEO.
Yeah.
You want to have it in the keyword actual description as well. So many people don't put descriptions in, even if it's just a sentence from the top of your blog. Put that in. Yeah. If it's in the link as well, amazing. So I've got one that's email hooks is one of my freebies. So I will connect that to Pinterest. I will put that as a freebie. I'll put it in the title. I'll make sure the graphic shows like 5 email hooks that you can use in your next email. Then I'll put it in the description. Then it would also be in the link as well. And you're done. And then you can just let that marinate for about 3 to 4 months and then hopefully it will pop off.
That's amazing. So would you say then that if you're starting your Christmas marketing and you're putting out Christmas content, you need to do that 3 months prior?
I would do that from August, July.
You would? Okay, yeah. Wow.
So
you really need to think ahead.
When I moved home, I was like, right, Christmas. And I think that's just echoing back to my story. Obviously, I worked in background artistry work, and that's something I started gravitated to. Now I'm home, which is really fun. But I remember being on set, I think it was like March or April for a Christmas advert. Okay. They filmed them so early. Because if you think you're starting your marketing for Christmas early, imagine when the assets had to be created. You pretty much have Christmas and it's like, right, we're planning for 2026. Same with Pinterest. If you're looking for Halloween, start in July. If you're looking at Christmas, September by the latest. If you're looking at New Year's, you could potentially start in October, but it could be evergreen. You could put up I think the biggest one that popped off for me was a list pin, which was 25 affirmations that you can say. I think that was it. And it just said pin to use in the future. And so many people saved it and so many people clicked on it because it linked to a blog post with the rest of the affirmations. Yeah. And things like that are savable on Pinterest are massive as well. Quotes are lovely, but unless it links to somewhere really important, it's more of just a brand awareness situation. If you have a list pin that has tangible things in, amazing. If you have a list pin that has tangible actions in and then says, go to this page for the rest of them, amazing.
Yeah. So having a really strong call to action is important there. Yeah. That's so cool. Honestly, I've not really thought that much about Pinterest. I use it as a user all the time, but there's so much in the back end that you've got to think about and your strategy as well. I think it's kind of making sense to me that there's kind of 2 parts of your marketing strategy. One that's kind of really fast paced and getting on the trends, especially with TikTok, and then one that's kind of working in the background. Yeah. So Pinterest is spoken about. What else is slow marketing? You mentioned emails.
Email marketing is something that I personally am working on myself. I've recently migrated over to Flowdesk, and I'm loving that at the moment. But I do it a lot for my clients. I get some amazing open rates for my clients. I opened one yesterday, and it was up from, it's quite a new client in terms of their email journey. It was up from about 39% to 47% and a 2.4 open rate.
That's really good. Which
was huge.
Yeah.
And it's only a small audience, but I've sold on email lists that are 9,000 and I've sold on email lists that are about 9. Doesn't matter how big your email audience is. If you create your emails, and the reason that I tie it to slow marketing is I normally start with my emails or start with my LinkedIn, and then I pull from the content from that. Same as you will probably do in this podcast. You will get short form content from it. You'll get quotes from it. You'll be able to write a LinkedIn post about it. Same with email marketing. You can write a massive email. Well, not massive, but 4 emails. So I have a bi-monthly Pinterest updates email that goes out and a bi-monthly email updates email that goes out. And then I can pull from those and share, oh, did you know that Pinterest is cracking down on this element of AI? Or emails are testing AI in their A/B testing of their subject lines and turn it into short form content. Because then, A, I have the ideas. B, my emails are converting for me and bringing people in. You've also got the lead gen strategy there that's come from Pinterest. it all links in.
It really does. I think that's really important as well for people, especially startup female founders that are working on their own. There's obviously so much to do. Like me and Matt, who's the producer behind this camera, we've just been working on our strategy, and we listed out all the kind of business functions and what needed to be done. And we looked at the list and were like, oh my word, how can we possibly do that as just two people? But especially for people doing it on their own, having these little kind of strategies to make life way more efficient is so good. And being able to cross-post, it's just so much easier to do, and it makes sense. It feels like, you know, sometimes if you've got someone on your email list but you've got someone in your Instagram followers, you might not always see both bits of content anyway. So
I have so many people tell me, they're like, I didn't realise you did social media management, or I didn't realise you did mentoring calls. I sit there and I'm like, I swear I spoke about that on my story 3 times this week. Yeah. But they might only be on my emails.
Exactly.
They might only be on my LinkedIn. So this is your sign to talk about your offers
Straight
more.
To camera.
Straight to camera. Talk about your offers more. Big yourself up.
100%. Fab. I want to talk about AI.
Amazing.
So I've seen kind of both sides to the coin, I guess, especially on LinkedIn. People are talking about AI and copywriting a lot because I use ChatGPT. I hold my hands up, right? I want to know how you feel about it as a copywriter. What does that look like? How are you incorporating it? How are you stepping away from it?
I use it.
Yeah, fair. Okay, maybe I didn't need to be so shameful.
I don't think we should shame people for using AI. I think it's here to stay. I've been very intrigued to how much it's here to stay.
Yes.
I think the amount of big companies like Meta and Amazon and Google are using it, how much revenue they're actually getting from it is very small in comparison to how much funding they're putting into it. I can't source the video, but I saw in my doom scrolling of Instagram, this guy had like 7 cups and each one of them represented how much finances each of the 7 big companies are putting in. And then there was 1 cup at the front, and that's how much all the revenue was coming from all the companies. So don't quote me on it. I just saw it, so I can't credify the source. But it did strike a chord in me where I was like, is there going to be an AI bubble burst?
Yeah.
So for me, I'm not too worried. I use it normally for research.
Yes, yeah.
And I use it for planning meal prep. I use it for goal planning. And I also used it, it's really funny, I used it for 2025, and I saw it on a TikTok. She was like, ask ChatGPT these 20 questions and it will predict your dream year.
No way.
And the first line of this paragraph it came out with was, Laura wakes up in her well-lit 3-bedroom house that she lives in on her own. I now live in a 3-bed house of my own. So I love
manifesting
it for things like that. Yeah, oh yeah, me and ChatGPT manifest all the time. I think in terms of, it depends how much client time you have. If I'm with clients that are potentially on a smaller budget, I might utilise ChatGPT a little bit more with them.
Yes, yeah.
In terms of, right, how are we going to strategize this? Are we going to rely on AI a little bit more, training that to understand your tone of voice for captions?
Yeah.
If I'm working with a client, I work with a lovely client. She's a little bit older, but she is very much traditional writer, won't touch ChatGPT at all.
Fair.
We work differently for that, but I also work with clients who are like, we want to utilise ChatGPT in our strategy. We want to train it to hear our voice. We're very ChatGPT AI pro. So I think it depends about what client you're working with.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of chat on LinkedIn about AI, not using AI. I think it's a pillar of everyone's content strategy at this point, and rightly so, because it's a big topic to be spoken about. But I don't think there's any... Maybe I'm naive, but at the moment, sometimes I have a look on Instagram and I have a spiral because I think, oh my goodness, this looks so realistic and I'm not going to have a job in 3 years.
Yeah.
But also, the way I write is entirely storytelling led. And that's one thing ChatGPT can't replicate is my story and how I've worked on cruise ship for 3 years and everything I've been through because it hasn't been through it.
Yeah, 100%. It doesn't have that human element.
No.
What are the telltale signs of when you can see someone's used AI in their copywriting?
I tend not to look. I tend to get a vibe if it sounds ChatGPT led. I don't think that the dash should be penalised for people because I know people who use it.
I love that dash, and I was so annoyed that
and now they're having to take it out. Literally. And I'm hoping we'll come full circle and people will be like, no, it's intentionally there.
In brackets, I did this.
Yes, this was me. But apart from that, maybe I'm just too busy doing my own marketing. But I don't scour people's posts and think, oh, yeah, that's definitely ChatGPT. And also, if it is ChatGPT, we don't know what people are up against. We're all female founders.
Exactly.
We've got, like you said, 101 things on our to-do list. If you want to utilise ChatGPT, that's your own prerogative.
Yeah.
But for me, I do consider my writing as a gift, and it's something that I want to give to other people. That's why I'm very human-led with it, want to go into schools and talk about writing and education and almost make it more of like a non-profit. I know other people who will thrive in design or thrive in strategy or thrive in technical or the automations or systems, which I can't do at all. And they might use ChatGPT amazingly on that. I have friends that are in very tech-heavy companies, fintech, hedge funds, that their whole career is pretty much looking at AI and how it develops. But it all just depends on what career you're in and how much you want to utilise it.
Yeah, absolutely. So you talk about this education piece that you want to build into your business. I'm presuming you're already doing a little bit of it already because you mentioned mentoring and things. For female founders, what is one shift that they can kind of do to make copywriting easier for them or to get past that writer's block or feel confident to write about their story? What do you suggest?
So I'm doing, it will have passed by the time this podcast has come out, but if it goes well, I'll probably make it a regular thing. I'm doing an event next Tuesday called the Writer's Workshop, which is entirely around how to get over writer's block, how to write for your individual writing style, how to find out when you write best, how you write best, where you write best. I'm going to out myself right now. I write all my LinkedIn posts on the bus.
Love that.
Or in bed. And for me, sometimes I either just get in the zone or I'll literally have an idea. My friend described it to me. He works in a hedge fund and he said, you know when a cat gets zoomies at 3 a.m? When you get a social media idea, that is you at 11 p.m. Because you grab your phone and you're like, hang on, I've got to write this down. And he's so like, funny. That's the equivalent of a cat with zoomies. So some people work in different ways. I know other people will have a perfect Notion board and exact spaces for things to go in, and it will work perfectly for them. But I'm way too scattered for that. I keep everything in my Apple Notes app. And I have folders for it all, and it works well for me. I know other people that will do text to speech. I won't reveal everything because obviously it'll be going into the event. But there's so many ways of finding out how you write, when you write best. And if you can really look into that and in tune with yourself, am I trying to push this too hard right now? Because sometimes I know and I've just got to go out and touch some grass or go for a walk. And then or get out of my office or go and, I don't know, for a run. And I'll be in the bath at 10 p.m. and I'll be like, that's it. I had an epiphany last night about one of my offers and I was like, that feels better. That makes sense. It's just about finding out how you write best. And I think if you can nail that down, then that will massively help you because there's a lot of pressure on having the best content planner or having the right tools. And there is an element of truth to that. But also you've got to honour your own path and your own work ways because that's why you became a female founder.
100%.
Not to become an employee.
You definitely don't need to copy other people's strategies.
You can take inspiration from them, but you're a female founder at the end of the day. I think it's very easy to fall from a female founder to a female employee of your own business. Very quickly because there's so many ways that you should do business or you should write or you should plan or you should strategize and it's whatever works for you, and I want to make that so abundantly clear.
Absolutely. So we actually skipped over the travel part. We went straight business. So I want to talk a little bit about the travel. What do you think you've taken from that entire experience?
I'm nowhere near the same person I was in 2020.
Yeah.
Wow. She was doing her best, but she is not the girl that I am now. And I'm so grateful for everything she did. And she was doing her best. But I got on that ship in 2022 and so much happened.
Yeah.
I had personal stuff that I developed on. I really came home to who I was as a person. And in terms of work, I realised pretty early on into my second contract as Shore experienced that the fast-paced, getting everyone on, you had about 22 buses to get people on for Messina, and you had like 3 people going to Etna, and you had to make sure that the first bus was full while you're clicking the second, counting the first tickets, and then directing people to the third bus, send the first bus, and you'd have to remember who was on how many. And I had this amazing manager I think it was around halfway through my second contract, and I'd actually been extended for 2 more months, which was a bit tough because I was looking forward to going home. And then I was like, I'm here for 6.5 months, which was really long. When I promoted, it was only 3 months on, 1 month off.
Okay.
It was so nice. But when you're on for 6.5 months, 4.5 months on a cruise ship, working every day, you don't get a day off.
Oh, right.
Really, you get time off,
Wow.
which I was fine working a business because you work all the time anyway. So I was like, this is no different. But I remember I was in Taranto in southern Italy, and my manager went, I'm just going to go check on the tuk-tuks, which are around the other side. And she sent my assistant manager to check on the tuk-tuks, and then I think she either stayed there or she went inside. But I just remember being by these 7 or 8 buses and being like, my assistant manager's gone. My friend's gone on a tour. I'm running this dispatch now. And I could see my manager looking at me like, yeah, because I know you can do it. And I was like, okay. And I did it. And I was quite proud of myself for doing it. And sometimes there were ones where I did really well. Like in the Caribbean, we were docked in with another ship and there was loads of different guests coming in. And I was like, you go that way, you go that way. And I managed it all. And Danielle, one of my managers, was like, fair play.
Love that.
But when I got to my third contract, I had some personal stuff go on the ship, which is the hardest part. If you're away from your family and things go wrong, either at home or on board, it's really tough. And then I just thought, no, this is not my forte. I much prefer chatting to guests longer, having longer conversations with people. And I think this is something I've brought into my business as well, is retention. I don't have a huge client list, but the client list I have lasts a long time.
Yeah.
I had the same 3 clients in Business Girls for like 1.5 years.
Wow.
And same now, I've got all my 3 clients as I started. And I think that's something I've brought in, the retention. But with Future Cruise, you do get to speak to people for longer. And Fred Olsen, if anyone knows the company, their guests are a little bit older in the demographic, and they come on the cruises very regularly. Very regularly.
Yeah.
Like I would recognise more than I can count on both hands in the street.
Wow.
I could tell you like their dogs' names, like who they tend to travel with, where they've been last. And that, again, was really hard to leave behind because they become your second family. On the World Cruise, they would just knit you things and be like, here you go, I made you this. It was so cute. And I do miss that kind of element of travelling, but I knew I had to make that decision for myself and move home. And I do think one of the things that cruise ships has taught me is leadership.
Yes.
And being able to advocate for myself. And I was obviously in a very long relationship, 4 years before I started ships. And then I went through ships and then became pretty much a manager. And then if your colleague goes down sick, which happened, you're running the department on your own.
Yeah.
And then to come home, to be running a house on my own, to be running a business on my own, to be 6 hours away from my friends and family, I've just grown more and more in my leadership as time's gone on. So I think that has massively come from ships. I'd recommend if anyone's watching this and they're thinking, I've just gone through a breakup, I maybe wouldn't do it after a breakup. It was quite a 180. Like my whole life changed. But if you're just thinking, I just want to go travel, cruise ships.
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah. You mentioned the leadership thing, and throughout your story, it kind of sounds like you've had really good managers that have really believed in your ability and kind of pushed you into doing something that they know you can do. And not a lot of people get that experience. So I feel like that's really something special as well. How do you think that has helped the whole business and leadership?
Yeah, I had some good managers, and then I had some managers I did clash with, but I feel like that's normal in any workspace. I really appreciate the camaraderie that you get on cruise ships, even when things were going wrong. Personally, they were always there, and they were like, is this okay? I've just heard that this has happened. Are you all right? And I was like, that's really kind of you to call me actually and check if I'm okay, because I don't think your manager on land would do that for you if they heard at 10 o'clock something had happened. They wouldn't call you and be like, oh, just heard this, you're all right. Your whole life and work is on this one big floating tin can, and it's all just culminated together. And it's hard to separate that work-life balance, but I think the managers I had did a very good job of doing it. And then when I became a manager, it's a bit like that bit in The Office where she's just like, yeah, I managed myself, but I'm quite hard to manage. I didn't have like a team below me per se, but it was me and another future cruise manager. You were a duo and you went through everything together, and then you reported to captain, hotel director. That was a big shift as well, going from having an assistant manager and a manager and then hotel director to basically being the manager and reporting to hotel director. I remember I was in my training and they said, so you're going to have dinner with the captain every week with the guests. And I went, sorry? Me?
Love that.
They were like, yeah, you're going to be like his hostess. And I was like, okay. So I was sat at this table being like, no, how are you? And then when I worked on cruise ships for longer, I did end up going on an excursion, meeting these two amazing guests. And then they were actually at my dinner that night.
Oh, no.
I think it was one of the funniest dinners that we'd had because two other guests were on that table as well. It's great. The leadership that I had on board was really good. The camaraderie you get on cruise ships is really fun. You live together, you work together, you go through everything together. Yeah.
That's so cool.
It was fun.
I kind of want to go on a cruise now.
I could tell a lot of stories from my time, but I don't know if they're podcast appropriate. So.
Yeah, I think we'll be here for hours. But so now to wrap up, I ask the same question to every female founder that I have on this chair. What is the one piece of advice that you would give to someone just starting out in business?
Oh my gosh.
Encapsulating everything.
I could have like the generic ones that's like, just keep going, do you? Get a folder on your computer and name it the Delulu Vault and chuck every single kind message, screen grab of an analytic, everything. Yes. And I do it every couple of days. And I just screenshot everything. And I maybe try and have some little folders in there so you know like where it came from, what month it came from, who it came from. But then you've got an absolute treasure trove of
so good
analytics, and maybe just have a folder in there that's like people who said I was great. Because sometimes I look and I'm like, that was not good, I'm not good, maybe I should just close the business. And then I'm like, no, you're in your luteal phase and people are nice to you. Don't panic. So maybe have that folder in there, have a Delulu Vault, chuck everything in there, and then if the worst happens and you lose a client or you part ways or whatever, you've got testimonials. Something that people don't do is they get very comfortable with the clients that they've got, and then a client leaves and they realise that they didn't take any screenshots or they didn't keep the emails they made, and then they're like, that's one of the biggest things that I got back. I was like, I barely took any screenshots or anything of the testimonials I did for the 7, 8, 9 clients I had with Business Girls. And I basically had this shell of a portfolio. And I think a final piece of advice, if you're just starting out, you have to lock in.
It's horrible, isn't it? But yeah.
I feel like I sound like such a finance pro, but you have to lock in. I sent easily about 200 applications in 2 months for like full-time jobs, pitches. I had silence. I travelled 8 hours to a office and met with them, and they said, yeah, like it sounds really good. I have not heard from them since.
No way.
And I don't know what happened there, but I've had I've been met with silence. We've gone with someone full time. No, we're sorry to let you know.
Yeah.
Someone else has picked you to the post. And I was even applying to retail jobs when I came home, and I got rejected from working night shifts at Tesco's.
That's mortifying. I've been through that, where you're applying for a job, you're like, I don't want this, but I'm just going to do it. And then you get rejected. You're like,
It's because I was overqualified, but I was also there like, well, this feels like a low patch. But also, if I got that job, I wouldn't be able to come in and do podcasts like this.
For a reason.
So, but you've got to lock in, because I remember when I got my first client, I literally opened the email and it was like, firstly, I'd like to say, and I was like,
oh no, here we go.
And then I literally saw that she was like, let's go ahead. And I literally ran laps around my house being like, I've got a client. But I don't think it would have happened if I hadn't spent literally a month hardcore applying, pitching, building up everything.
Yeah.
It was a huge risk. I left
Coffee with a Female Founder is hosted by me, Amy Cole. If you're interested in finding out more about the Female Founder, sign up to the waitlist at www.thefemalefounder.co.uk. The podcast is recorded and produced by Keypod Productions in Oldham, Greater Manchester. For more information, visit kupod.co.uk. If you enjoyed the podcast, please make sure you give us a like, share and follow. If you would like to feature as a guest, please email amy@thefemalefounder.co.uk.
Qualified as you are, that were going for double your jobs and getting them.
Yeah.
So go for it.
That's where the Delulu Vault comes in.
Absolutely. Get yourself a Delulu Vault.
Love that. Well, thank you so much. This has been such a good conversation.
Yeah.
I've learnt loads about Pinterest. So get yourself on Pinterest, guys.
Yes.
And go on a cruise ship.
Yes. Go on a cruise ship. Get yourself a Delulu Vault. Get yourself on Pinterest. And you can follow me on Instagram at Celestia Writing. So that's CELESIA Writing. That name might be changing in the next coming months, which is exciting. And then LinkedIn, it's just my full name at Laura England. And you'll see it's me because it's cruise ship to copywriter.
Love that so much. Well, I'll put all your links in the show notes so everyone can find you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Amazing.
Well done.
That was so good.
Oh, thank you.
Good timing.